And again, when we talk about intimacy, we could, be talking about just physical intimacy as a whole, not just literal like penetration, but just physical closeness with your partner. This is definitely a topic that also comes up a lot when I'm working with couples, and I thought that it would be great to discuss this one because, again, it's not one of those topics that people always just feel comfortable just talking about very openly and candidly with people. And so a lot of times I do these videos is because I know that sometimes, we don't always feel comfortable addressing these things out. Okay, I'm back, y'all. I don't know what happened. Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, so anyway, so I know like this is one of those topics we don't always feel comfortable expressing and talking about. Okay, y'all, I don't know what's going on. I'm not having like the best connection, but I'm going to do my best. I'm doing my best. So just bear with me. If it kind of goes out and come back in, I'll repeat, Okay, sorry about that, you guys. I don't know what's going on with the connection right now, but we're doing our best. So anyway, just again, the topic that I'm covering today is just talking about the lack of physical intimacy that is possibly happening in your relationship, your marriage, trying to figure out what's the causes of that, what to do with that. It can be a very frustrating thing. It can be a very lonely feeling. You may not always feel as comfortable talking to people about it. It's like, for real, who do I talk to about this, And so I'm talking about it today. So then that way it takes a little bit of that pressure off. And this is something that you can watch later on. You can also share with your partner again, because I do believe that healthy conversations is the key. Like if you can bring something to your partner in a way that they can receive it, understand it, and then you all can apply some of these things, then let's make that happen. Let's not suffer in silence. Let's get to the issues. Let's get to the root of the issues and deal with them so that we can move forward. Okay? So thank you all for just joining in. Feel free to share with other people, if you think that they may want to hear more on this topic that you think that may be beneficial. I would say that sharing it with your partner, if this is an issue, may not necessarily be a good thing in the moment to share this with them. They may be like, why are you sending this to me? but it could be something that you talk about down the line and then say, hey, I want to share a video with you. So I'm going to teach you all how to approach different topics as well, because that's also going to be, a big part of this is how we approach the topic. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit too. If you all had an opportunity to view one of my other videos that I posted, I think about a week ago, and I was just talking about like communication styles as well, like how to approach different topics. I always talk about what I term the 3 T's: timing, tone, and tact, and how that plays such a huge role in being able to have effective communication. Definitely check that video out too, because it's going to be really beneficial. It's going to be very helpful when it comes to a topic like this as well. So we diving right in. So first of all, when you're feeling like there's a lack of intimacy, physical intimacy, just sex in your relationship or your marriage, and it's very frustrating to you, you feel like you're begging, first we need to find out what is the frustration with, like the frustration, the dissatisfaction. What are you truly frustrated with? Is it the quantity of sex, meaning like how many times it's occurring or not occurring? Or is it the quality, like the different things that you want to experience sexually? Or is it both? And so let's start there. Just kind of take a moment, reflect on that, and just ask yourself, what is truly bothering me? Because in order to communicate this to your partner, first you have to know it for yourself. You have to know exactly what it is that's bothering you. And so then that way, when it's time to have the conversations, you can be very clear and direct. We don't want to tiptoe around things. We don't want to go around the mulberry bush. Like, we want to really hit the key points. But the only way you'll be able to do that is if you know it for yourself first. So the first thing is, what is it about this lack of sex or lack of variety in sex? What is truly bothering me? So get to the root of that first and do that with yourself first, okay? The next thing is you need to ask yourself, if I had to guess, why is it that my partner is not, fulfilling a certain need or desire of mine? If you had to guess, because we're going to guess first, and then we're going to actually go towards having the conversation with our partner. So the first thing is to think about this for a minute. Just reflect and ask yourself, what is it that my partner could be experiencing possibly so that contributes to us not having sex? Okay, so if you think about, your relationship, better than anyone. Okay, so just think about some of the conversations that you all have had. Think about some of the disagreements that you all have had, and what seems to be the underlying tone. What seems to be the consistent thing that comes up all the time? Okay, is it we're not spending quality time together? Is it, I do not feel safe with you emotionally? Sex is hurting me? Whatever that might be. I want you to just kind of take a moment and think about, what could it be? That's it. Just what could it be? Okay. And then ask that question within yourself. Okay. So when you think about what it is that you want from your partner sexually, are you upset because they're not meeting your expectations, in terms of what you want to experience sexually? Are there certain experiences that you all used to have together that are not happening anymore sexually? Did you have experiences prior to your relationship or marriage that you really enjoyed and you want to play that out in your current relationship or marriage too, and that's not happening? Like, these are real conversations, y'all, like, to have with yourself. Don't lie to yourself. It's one thing to lie to other people, but don't lie to yourself. Be honest with yourself about what it is that, is causing this level of frustration. Is it that when you try to communicate your needs, your desires to your partner, and it just seems like they're just not getting it, like they're not understanding it, like the dots, they're not connecting? Or does it seem like they're purposely trying to not hear anything that you're saying? Like, think about these things as well, okay? Medical conditions, right? Are there any things that could be prohibiting you all from having an enjoyable experience? Is it that every time you all have sex, your partner is, complaining of something, hurting or doesn't feel good, or whatever that might be? Like, again, these are the questions that you have to ask, because this isn't one of those topics that's just like a quick, easy fix. You have to be able to kind of go through these different steps first before we can really approach the topic, okay? And then another thing is like body image issues too. So like, for a lot of people, some people just do not feel comfortable, like maybe in the earlier stages or the earlier years of a relationship. Maybe you all both were a little bit more fit, a little bit more flexible, a little bit more of anything. And then over time, some things have changed with you. Maybe you've gained weight. Maybe you don't have the level of stamina that you once had. Maybe you were in an accident and things changed. Like, these are real things that can come up, and it causes a certain level of frustration in relationships and marriage when it comes to sex. So again, these are things that you want to be thinking about. What's going on with me first? What is frustrating me first? What are some things that have changed within me first? Sometimes too, we're constantly evolving. So at the beginning of a relationship, you may have found that you weren't as comfortable, with your body or your sexuality. And now that you've kind of evolved, you're feeling more comfortable, and you're like, hey, I want to try all of the things, and your partner's looking like, why? So those are things to think about. So just being honest with yourself about all of the things that have changed with you. If there are any changes, and more likely there has been at least one or two changes within you over the years. And think about what could possibly be the thing that could be prohibiting your partner from also engaging with you sexually as much as you would like. And the reason why it's important to think about what it could be with your partner, because then that shows a certain level of empathy. You want to make sure that this is not all about you. The focus is not just you, it's the health of the entire relationship. So remember, it takes two people, it takes two people actively working at making this work. So it's never going to be all like they're doing this, they're not doing this, and we're constantly pointing the finger. You have to start looking at yourself too in regards to how are you showing up in your relationship too that may be making this issue bigger than what it needs to be. Or, sometimes we may be contributing to the barrier that our partners are feeling within us as well. So there's a lot of ways that you can look at this, but the main thing is you need to start within. Start with yourself first, and think about how you see sex. Like, what does that represent for you? A lot of times, too, people have to realize, again, when you're in a romantic relationship, that's what distinguishes the different types of relationships. So you have romantic, you have platonic, you have your relationships with your family and stuff like that. These relationships are different for the very reason is that you're adding a little bit more of the intimacy component. So when you're not sharing that level of intimacy with someone, yes, you may be sharing emotional intimacy, but when you're not sharing some type of physical intimacy, and it doesn't necessarily mean intercourse, it could just mean a physical closeness. If you are not sharing that with your partner, then what you're doing is you're taking your romantic relationship and you're moving it over into a different category that can sometimes feel like you're in a relationship with someone that's just a roommate. Or that's why people say, I just feel like we're roommates. I feel like we're on two different sides of the world here, because we're not sharing that type of space with each other physically. And that is what kind of shows the differences between a romantic relationship and a platonic one. And so when sex is off the table, it needs to be, if it's going to be off the table, that has to be something that you all have both actively decided together. It can't be like you decided in your mind, yeah, I'm not about to be doing that. And then you don't fill your partner in on the fact that you're doing that or the reasons why. That needs to be a joint, discussion. And if it's not, it means that that's an area that's lacking, and that's also going to play into you all's sexual, connection or disconnection. Okay. So again, when you're approaching the subject, I always tell people, try not to approach very vulnerable topics in the space that caused the issue. So for instance, if you're having issues with sex, bringing it up when you're about to have sex or in the bedroom is probably not the best place because that's when you're most vulnerable. So that would be better to have a conversation like that, maybe like over a cup of tea or coffee, or like we can go out to eat. Something that's just a little bit more relaxed. There's not a lot of expectations to perform or to show up a certain way. So location matters. And this is something that I talked about in the last video when I was talking about how to deal with conflict effectively, like effective conflict resolution. You want to kind of make sure that the location in which you're having this conversation is paramount. That's actually important. Okay, so if someone is in an area or a space where they feel like this is vulnerable for me, I cannot express my true feelings, or I'm already frustrated, that's going to actually throw you all off even more. So think about it from the standpoint of, you know what, let me find a neutral place that we can go that's relaxed. It takes the pressure off so that we can have this conversation. And before you have the conversation, give each other a heads up, like, hey, I thought that maybe we could talk about, just something regarding like our intimacy. Lately I've been feeling like we haven't really been on the same page. And I would like to see if we can get on the same page. That's it, right? Because you don't want to say things that's going to cause your partner to become defensive. Because as soon as you say, you know what, I'm unfulfilled, I am tired of this, sex is whack, sex is non-existent, you start to put someone on the defensive. And so it's really important that you come into this space, first and foremost, just saying, hey, I think we may not necessarily be on the same page, and I would like for us to. So can we maybe go out for a cup of coffee or some tea? Or can we sit in the living room and chat, or take a walk if it's nice outside and just have this conversation? Because I think once we have this conversation, is really going to help our sex life. And it's good to end it with that too, because you're stating the positive. You're looking at it from a positive outlook. Like, even though we may be having this issue now, What I'm saying is, I think if we can kind of discuss it and have some communication around it, I really believe it's going to get better. You know, like give something positive. Don't look at it as such a negative thing, even when it feels negative. I understand it's very frustrating. It's not easy to deal with this, but you have to go into it with the mentality of, I believe it can get better. Maybe I just need to change my approach. I would like for you to hear me, whatever that might be. But again, you have to be willing to go into this conversation with some hopes, you know, and being willing to listen, to understand, and to validate each other, which is in my book, LUV. It's another topic. We'll get back on that. But anyway, so again, you're approaching this topic in a way where you all can be in a location that is free of like a lot of pressure, so that you all can discuss what's been going on. Okay, so that part, we've got that out the way. Now it's time to talk about the issue. So before we talk about the issue, let's list all the positives first about our sexual interaction. Okay, whatever that looks like. You can say, you know what, I really like when you tell me how beautiful I am. I really like when you tell me I look good when I come in from the gym playing basketball. Or I like that, you know, you do this to me in bed, or whatever that is. Whatever compliment you can give from a sexual sensual standpoint, let's do that first. Let's start off with all the good, okay? Because a lot of times when someone hears what they're doing right, that makes them want to do it more, okay? So because this is such a vulnerable topic, it's not always easy to hear. Starting out with something positive is always a good thing. And then also for the person receiving it, okay, so you're the one saying it, like I'm saying all these positive things about you. But the person receiving it has to understand, okay, they're saying all these good things about me. And instead of kind of combating them on it, because sometimes we can hear these good things like, you know, and I don't even know if I could say this on Facebook, so I'm going to try to word this in the most appropriate way. But let's just say, if your partner tells you how good you are at pleasuring them from a headspace, don't get upset, you know, like, oh my God, that's all you want to do. That's all you want to do. No, be like, all right, take that compliment. You know what I'm saying? Pat on the back. Yes, thank you. I am pretty good at that. I know that, you know. But again, take the compliment, because quite honestly, they could be telling somebody else. Okay, so the fact that they're telling you that they really enjoy those things that you do sexually, take that. Okay, just receive it. Just be like, okay, I hear you. Thank you. You know, thank you. I didn't know you liked that so much. Okay, got it. Cool. Alrighty. So I'm showing you on both ends what you can say as the speaker, but then also the person receiving it, how you can receive that information. Because it's amazing where our minds can go. Like when we're really frustrated, or we're thinking, here they come again. This is all they want. And now I'm looking at this from a negative standpoint, when it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. And again, if your partner is taking time out to talk to you about their desires and what they want, that's a good sign. Let me tell you all, that's a good sign. Because again, they could be saying that or doing that with someone else. I am not excusing it. Please don't take this as like, I'm giving you permission, I'm condoning it. No, I'm just calling things what it is. I'm being very real, calling a spade a spade. When we are not being fulfilled in certain areas of our lives, as human beings, we will find that fulfillment elsewhere. Okay? So remember that. And if they're taking the time to tell you, that's a good sign. Okay? So that's the first part of that. The next thing is, obviously, we started with a compliment, right? And obviously in, you know, this psychological world, they call this the sandwich method. Okay, so obviously we start with a positive. Okay, now the middle part of this, which is the meat of the sandwich method, is going to be the constructive criticism. What is it that you are desiring that you feel is not occurring in your relationship or your marriage? Now, this is the tricky part, y'all, because this can make or break the conversation. So please listen closely to this. Take some notes if you need to, okay? The main things you don't want to do, these are the don'ts. Please do not start off with, you always do this or you never do this. So you're not going to use absolutes at all, unless you're giving a compliment. Now, sometimes a compliment can go over a little bit better when you like, oh my God, you just hit it right every single time. Oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think too many people not going to want to hit it. but when you're offering some type of constructive criticism, using absolutes usually doesn't go over too well. So try your best not to say, you never do this. You always do this. Let's refrain from that. And instead of starting with you, like you talking to them and saying you, then I want you to start with yourself. You can start with yourself and say, I really enjoy when we, and then you name the act, or you name something like the connection. I love when we connect. I love foreplay before, sex. And the reason why that's important, because say for instance, you feel like the sexual experience is lacking foreplay. Instead of saying, why don't you ever engage in foreplay? Then you can turn it around and say, I really enjoy foreplay before we have sex, and really specify what foreplay looks like for you, because your partner may not necessarily know or even understand what that looks like for you. So spell it out. Be very direct. The more comfortable you can get with talking about sex, trust me, your sexual experience will be even better. If you can talk about sex very matter-of-factly, like, yes, I like that. I like how you do that. I like the way that looks. I like the way that tastes. I like the way that jiggles. Like, keep it 1,000, y'all. Like, we're not playing around with this stuff, because too many times these problems are happening because we don't know how to talk about it, or we don't feel comfortable talking about it. And so being able to share what is really on your mind in the most effective way, okay, is going to be really important. So making sure that you are telling your partner, I really enjoy foreplay before we have sex. And what that looks like for me is you rubbing my back, or you rubbing, the small of my back. You rubbing behind my knees, you kissing my neck, you sucking on this, you touching this and fondling that. Whatever the wording you need to use, y'all. I don't even care. You know what I'm saying? Just as long as you're sharing what it is that you really enjoy, talk to them about that. I like that. I love when you do that. And the person receiving it, okay? I want you to just receive it. But then also when you're receiving that, then co-sign that. Okay, great. I didn't know you like that. Now I know you want more of that, or whatever that is. And then take it a step further and say, what else would you like? What else would you like? Like, do you understand when you ask your partner, what do you like? What else do you like? What would you like for me to do? That in itself is a turn on, okay? So and see, the more you can practice this outside the sexual act, then you can bring it into the sexual act. That's the part. So it's kind of like when you're in school, and say for instance, like you're in a choir or you're in a play or whatever, you got to public speak, and you're nervous, and the teacher's like, okay, I want you to get up as you're practicing. I want you to get up and perform it as if all of the people are here in the audience. And you're like, no, I could just wait. I'll be ready when, everything is live and I'm on stage. They like, no, you need to practice this now, because I need to know that you're going to get on that stage and you're going to rock it. It's the same thing. So when you're talking to your partner about sex, if you all are having these conversations early on, before the sexual act, you're getting practice. You're getting practice with speaking up and saying what you desire, and talking about consent. And you're also speaking up so that in a way, you get more comfortable using certain language. Then you can get more comfortable with a little dirty talk or whatever you want to incorporate, whatever. You got to get comfortable with that. So then that way, when you start having sex, it starts to just come out a lot more naturally. Okay, so that's a big piece of this too. That's why talking about all of this stuff ahead of time in this way is actually going to help you engage in better experiences or more sex, whatever it is that you desire. Okay, so like I mentioned before, make sure that you start off with what your partner is doing right. Give them a compliment. Give them a lot of compliments if you got them. Don't lie. Okay, don't lie. Okay, don't just be saying stuff, but really be honest about what it is that you do enjoy, and tell them that they do it very well. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna need more of that because you are a rock star. Like, you gotta like. And again, I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying lie at all. I'm actually saying tell the truth, because sometimes we're not telling each other not only the truth of I'm not satisfied, we're also not telling the truth of where we are satisfied. We're leaving that out. How will someone know that they're doing a good job if they don't hear it, if you don't tell them? Okay, so make sure that you tell them first. That's what I like. I love that you do that. You do it so well, whatever that is. Okay, the criticism comes next, the constructive criticism. And you don't word it in a way to say it like with absolutes, like you're always doing this, you're never doing this. You're going to word it in a way of whatever it is that they are not doing that you want them to do. Tell them you like when they do that. It feels so good. It makes me feel this. It makes me feel that. Like, it just relaxes me. I feel like, man, when we're together, like I feel like I'm floating, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, sex with you just calms my soul. Like, I don't know, like whatever the wording, but tell them that. Okay. And then after that, you're going to hit them with another compliment as well. Okay. Sounds very easy, right? And I know you're probably like, Angie, it's really not that easy. I always say this, it's simple. It's not always easy because there are a lot of other things that come into play. So let's talk about those things that might be barriers as to why this is not as simple as you would like. Okay, so for instance, the reason why sometimes these conversations are not as easy to have, because number one, you feel like you've been talking day in and day out about the same topic and nothing is changing. I know, right? That's one of them. Sometimes you feel like your partner says, okay, yeah, we're going to get it in tonight. We're going to do this. Nighttime come, they sleep. Or where they at? They not in the mood no more. You're like, oh my God. Serious? Like, so you just left me hanging. Okay. So sometimes that plays into it. Other times maybe we're not listening. We're not absorbing the information. So for instance, if your partner is telling you exactly what they want, I mean, exact like to a T, and then you all get in your groove, in the act, and you're still not doing what they're asking you to do, that also becomes a problem too, you know? So if your partner is saying, you know, I like at least 5 minutes of foreplay in this way before we have sex, and then you show up in the bed and you just ready to just get it in, that's going to maybe be a turnoff to your partner. It's like, I told you what I needed, what I wanted, what I desired. Why are you doing something opposite of that? So that can also be a problem. Let's see, some other things that may come up. You all can, you know, drop some things in the chat as well. You know, if you have other things that are coming up that's like barriers in your relationships or, you know, your marriages in regards to why sex isn't happening, I'm pretty sure you all can think of a plethora, you know, of things that's making this happen or not happen, so to speak. But again, you have to be willing to have those conversations, but you also have to learn, number one, effective communication, and you need to learn conflict resolution, okay? Because again, this is a communication issue, and also it's a conflict. Two things, right? So if you're not learning those two things, how to apply those two things in dealing with this, you're probably going to fall flat every single time. Okay, so again, you can even come to the conversation with your partner if you're the one that's feeling like deprived and like sex isn't occurring. This is also something that can come up in the constructive criticism. I love when you do this. I love when you do that. But I was just wondering, what do you think might be the barrier in terms of why we're not engaging that way? And then that's a way of, instead of like, it doesn't feel like an attack. It doesn't feel like you're blaming them. You're actually just having a general conversation. Like, I notice I really like when you do this, but for some reason, you know, it's still not happening. In your mind, what do you think might be the barrier? And then just pause. Like, don't keep talking. You know, don't try to make a point. Just generally ask them, what do they think? And what you're going to get, hopefully, is a very transparent answer. It might be, you know what, I'm just tired all the time. I don't know what to do. I'm tired. Okay? So then you're probably looking like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do with that? You tired? Well, then wake up. All right? Wake your ass So, right? But from there, then if your partner tells you, I'm not sure, I'm tired all the time. It's like, okay, well, you know what? If you are feeling tired all the time, have we checked like your blood levels? You know what I'm saying? Do you think you're not getting enough sleep? Vitamins? Like, what do you think it might be? Put it back on them. Like, get them to start engaging, because we can't just show up to these conversations and just say, oh, you know what? I'm just tired. And that's not why we're not having sex. And then we just stop. No, it don't work like that. Because then if you just stop and then your partner decides, okay, you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to do anything about it, I can go find this somewhere else, then you're going to be upset. And again, I'm not excusing that. I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying these are real conversations. People need to stop acting like, okay, because I don't want to do something, that means they're not supposed to do nothing. And then we just supposed to be cool. Don't work like that. We all have a responsibility. So if your partner comes to you and it's like, hey, we haven't had sex in a minute, and I believe that we can both figure out how we can contribute to this resolution. What do you think might be one of the barriers? Say your barrier. I'm tired. Okay, cool. Okay, what do you think we can do to help you with your level of tiredness? Is this something that I can do around the house? Do we need to go to the doctor? You know what I'm saying? Get some things checked out. Is it like your blood work? Are you stressed with work? Let's start talking about what we think is contributing to that tiredness, and let's deal with it together. Now, that's your part. Now, again, you want your sex, right? You can't just put it all on them. So if they tell you what's going on with them, then that's when you come back and say, okay, we together are going to figure this out. What do we need to do together to get you to a place where you feel like, if I could just get over this tiredness, I'll be fine. Now, this is another tricky part of this, right? Sometimes we may say, oh, you know what? I'm just tired. But you hanging out with everybody else. You yapping on the phone for hours. You're doing all of the other things that require some level of energy, but we're too tired for sex. So now that may mean we have a different issue. And that's why I said we have to be honest with ourselves first. Don't lie to yourself. And don't move the goalpost, right? So you may start off saying, okay, yeah, I'm tired. And now all of a sudden it's something different. Well, you don't take me out. Where you want to go? Right? Like, okay, we haven't been out in a while. Cool. I hear you loud and clear. We haven't been out in a minute. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Okay, cool. Tell me. Now we done went out. We done had a ball. I done paid all this money for this food. We done ate lobster and whatnot. Why are we coming home and we not doing nothing? Moving the goalpost again. Be honest with yourselves, okay? So that's the big part. And then we have to remember, this is why it's very challenging sometimes if you're on that side of the relationship where you feel like your needs are not being met, sexually, you're not having sex and you're feeling deprived, you're feeling like you have to beg for it. This is why it gets so frustrating to be able to talk about it, because the person receiving it has to also understand effective communication. It's not a one-sided thing. I don't get to just say all of my issues with you, dump all my issues on you, right? You don't do this, you don't do blah, 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 this ain't, and then not contribute to the solution, okay? So you have to be able to contribute to the solution as well. That's not always easy to do. Like I said, you guys, this is actually a very simple concept, but it's not easy to execute because we have other things that infiltrate to make this a little bit more challenging. Sometimes we got hang-ups about, okay, I'm still holding on to something or some type of resentment from the past. That's why I can't have sex with you right now, because I'm still mad at you. You lied to me about X, Y, and Z, and I'm still mad. Yep, I am. Or the last time we was together, you got yours and I ain't get mad, so I'm mad. Right? It's so many things, y'all. Then hurt them all, okay? So it's so many things. And that's why you have to be honest with yourself first regarding what is prohibiting this. What is the barrier? What role do I play in this? And am I creating a safe space for my partner to also share what role they're playing in this as well? two-way street. If you can go into your interactions with your partner like that all the time, you'll have a higher success rate of kind of resolving this conflict and getting back to business. Okay, so those are the main things to just kind of think about. So I want you to start there. If you find that right now you're like, I don't even know when to talk to them, Angie. Like, for real. Like, I hear everything you're saying. When is the best time to talk to them? Because it seems like it's always the wrong time. Okay? So then you're going to think about the most effective approach. Think about your partner, because you know your partner. When is the best time to talk to your partner about something or ask them? Okay? Is it the best time to ask them? Is it like when they've just got back from enjoying some time with friends because they're on a high? Okay, that might be a good time. A good time could be after they've had a nap and they're well rested. That could be a time. You know, some people are early risers or early birds, so they like to do things a lot and talk in the mornings and stuff. That may be a time. Or later in the evening. Whatever it is, you know that though. You know that. Observe your partner. If you don't know, then observe them and try to kind of figure out what would be the best time to approach a topic. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to hit them with everything at that moment. You're just going to come to them at that time and say, hey, you know what, I was thinking about, our physical intimacy, and I know we've had some challenges in that area. I know we haven't quite, been on the same page. We've even had some arguments about it. And I definitely don't want us to do that anymore. That part, I'm going to apologize for anything that I've done or said in the past that made you feel uncomfortable. I don't want to do that anymore moving forward. I want to help you feel comfortable, being able to share with me your feelings, your desires. So can we schedule a time so that we can sit down and talk so I can really hear you, understand you, where you're coming from? Because I think that's going to be really important with us moving forward. Bam! I'm telling y'all, it works. It works. It works. And the reason why I know this is because when I'm in sessions with people and I say these things, they'll look at me like, Angie, like, I said that to them. Why they receiving it from you and not from me, okay? And there's a few reasons for that, but a lot of times it is wording, it's timing, it's tact, my tone, how I say different things. I'm not walking on eggshells. I'm not tiptoeing around the subject. I'm actually being very direct, but I'm also taking their feelings and their concerns into account. And I'm not putting this all on them, okay? I'm also bearing some of the responsibility as well. And so when you come to someone with that approach, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish when you have that goal in mind. If the goal is for us to reconnect and to have more sex or better sex or whatever it is, you need to make sure that the goal is for us to get there. I can't get there pointing fingers. I can't get there yelling at them. I can't get there dismissing them or invalidating them. But I can get there by saying, you know what, I believe we can do this. I believe in us. We've had a time where we connected at one point, but I think over time, we may have just missed some things that I'm going to take some ownership for, because I know that's on me too. But then I just feel like the more we can talk about this and create safe spaces for each other, we can get down to this and resolve this issue. Be so direct. I'm telling y'all. Don't make little side jokes either. This ain't the time, because everybody not with that, especially when they already frustrated. Don't be making the little jokes, Don't be like, oh, I remember when you used to do this, you used to throw it back. We already know that, and it ain't happening right now. So rehashing that is not going to help. Just go right into the situation, just talking about what you feel like you all can accomplish together, and that you're willing to listen, understand, and validate, and take ownership. I think that's it, y'all. I don't even know. I mean, I can go deeper, but I really believe this is where we gon' kind of end this, because I want you all to practice that first, okay? Now, again, if you need to go back and look at this video from the beginning, do that. Do that. Practice this thing, because I want y'all to win. I say this all the time. I want y'all to go up in there and do what you got to do and figure this stuff out so that you can feel like you're connecting again with your partner. And I will say this, I try not to speak a lot on, male this, female this, but I will say this. We have to remember how sex resonates for both sexes, okay? We got to remember that a lot of times for men, engaging in sex and their woman initiating speaks volumes, like volumes, okay? So when you initiate, when you show an interest, when you are saying, I'm willing to do something or try something, work with you here, do that, oh my God. That's important to them, okay? So and that's the first step for them. So a lot of times if they can connect with you on that level, sexually, sensually, then a lot of the other things follow after that. But they got to know that you desire them. Men want to feel desired. They really do. It's just I don't know where we think they could just carry the whole world and then just be about their way and not think that they don't desire that sexual contact from you. And again, if they want it from you, their girlfriend, their wife, that's a good thing, okay? Because they could be going out somewhere else. I mean, I know we don't want to hit it. I know we don't want to talk about that, but that is a real thing. This is something that's very important to them, okay? Especially if you are their girlfriend or wife. You're not just anybody to them. You're actually very special. So he wants to do that with you, okay? And then for women, we have to understand, for men, you have to understand that for women, yes, there's some other prerequisites that are needed sometimes to kind of get there, to fully get in that mood and to be totally aroused. And it may mean that you need to really kind of figure out or just ask her what her love language is. Watch her, observe her. Does she light up when you spend quality time with her? Does she get more relaxed, more comfortable? Does she get excited when you're helping her with tasks around the house or something that she needs done? That could speak volumes to her. Does she feel like, you're always too hard on her or harsh with your words and she wants you to be just a little bit softer? When she sees that you're doing that, it may make her to, feel like she's a little bit more aroused and in the mood and ready to receive you. So these are things that we have to understand just from a biological perspective, that we're different in that way, and sometimes it can be, exceptions to the rule. Yes, that happens. But a lot of times when you're in a long-term relationship, these are the things that typically do tend to show up. So just keep that in mind when you're approaching a subject. Remember, your partner is not you. And not you because maybe you're a man and she's a woman, or you're a woman and he's a man, but you're just two different people. And sometimes you have two different viewpoints and desires on all of that. So you got to keep that in mind. I am not you, you are not me, but I'm trying to meet you, where you are. And I would hope you would do the same with me. I have seen that a lot of times people have not truly learned the art of communication and conflict resolution. And this is why they still struggle in these areas. And so until you can confidently say, this is how I show up when it comes to communication, and I think I'm doing pretty well, or this is how I show up in conflict resolution, you're probably still going to be hitting that brick wall. Okay. So a lot of times, when it comes to sex, people may think it's just this easy fix, just say this, just do that. But the main thing is you got to learn how to effectively communicate. And you need to know how to resolve conflict in an effective way as well. So let me know your thoughts. If you all have any questions before I log off real quick, I'm going to give you all a few seconds to type anything. If you have questions, if you feel more comfortable, like I always say, you can always inbox me, direct message me, or email me with your questions or concerns, because I always like to put that out there too. Again, I know it's a pretty vulnerable topic. And the way algorithms work, you'll be sitting here typing something and somebody you didn't want to see might see your comments. So I get it. I totally get it. So definitely just, let me know your thoughts, what you're feeling, what you're thinking. If there was something that wasn't quite addressed in this video that you're like, but Angie, what about this? What do I do in this situation? Send me a message. We'll chop it up. We'll talk about it. But this was one of those topics I definitely wanted to address, as this comes up a lot, no matter your age, your background, people are dealing with this disconnect when it comes to, sex in their relationships. And I want to help you guys with that. So let me know your thoughts, and I will see you all later.